Hello and welcome to a little video about a lovely spring coloured card which you can use for all sorts of occasions and in all sorts of ways. So here it is, and it's using, as you can see, lots of lovely pastel colours this time. And you're probably thinking, well, why did she choose all those colours to go together? And to be honest, I find when I'm making mats for layers for cards, such as we've got on here, the petal pink at the back, I end up with small strips left over, and I thought the other day, well, what can I do with all these strips? And I thought, I know, I'll make a new card with them. So this is how to do it. It's very straightforward. Also, I'm featuring, and it's a bit hard to see, let me see if I can turn it so you can see, there we go. You can see that this is a raised word, so I'm going to show you how we've done that as well. It's all straightforward. So here we go. Let me just put it at the back there so I can remember what I need to be looking at, and I'll show you at the end as well. Okay, so first of all, I've got a basic white card base, and in this instance, just cut to normal. I've also taken some petal pink as my card base. I went for a light colour, which is a fairly neutral colour, which goes with most of the others that we've got on there. So first of all, I'm going to use some basic glue and just attach this to the card base at the bottom. Go. Put it on, and I've left myself a little white border around the edges just so it stands out a little bit more. So there we go. In that case, my card base is done and ready to go. Now, I've then got myself another piece of white card and a whole selection of strips and bits, as you can see, all sorts of things, which I've given them a sort of trim up so they're sort of sensible, but you can see they're a bit longer either side than the actual white base, and that's so I can trim round it at the end. Because if you let me go back to the original, what I've done is I've used a variety of widths to make it a bit more interesting. I also wanted to make sure I had enough colour choice so no colours are ever next to each other, if you see what I mean. So there's enough variety. So it's very straightforward what you're going to do, and I'm going to use some liquid glue with this. Is just take my glue, put them on the edge, and I'm just going to stick it straight down. I'm leaving a bit of an overlap on the other side. Now, because it's a liquid glue, you've got a bit of space to wiggle, so I'm just going to check. Yeah, I've left a little gap at the side. I want to just check it's on a bit straight. There we go. I'm ready to go. So have a play first of all. So what I'm going to do is just work out what colours I might want to go next to each other, just so you have some variety. So the colours I've used for this, if you're interested, I'll run through them in a minute, but it's in essence, it's petal pink, calypso coral, which I must have done quite a lot of because I seem to have lots of strips of that. I'm going to put another little thin strip in. There we go. I've got some purple posy. I've got some pool party. So you can, and then I'm going to bring the changes. I've got a little bit of So Saffron, which I have to say I love this time of year, just as the spring's around the corner. And you know the spring is coming, so there you are. So I can put that on. And you can see it doesn't matter if they're different lengths at the moment. Oh, Flirty Flamingo, always a good colour. Anyway, right, so you can see how it's going to build up. So have a bit of a play with your colours first, and then you're literally just going to, as you can see, the glue is oozing out of the top of this, so I'm just going to wiggle it down. So I'm just going to leave it for a moment or two just to dry. I'm just going to get rid of my other strips. So what I would say is just make sure it dries properly before you take your scissors to it. So I'm just going to put that over there to one side for a minute. I'm going to talk about the bit in the middle. So I'm just going to move that for a minute. Here we go. So this is my middle bit. So this is a poppy parade. using the stitch nested frames. So the stitch nested frames have given me the outline, and then in the well written die set I've taken the word friend. But at the moment, in order to make it a bit more interesting, I've also used these, which are the thick adhesive sheets. So as you can see, they're like dimensionals, which I've got here if you like, but they're a whole sheet. So if you lay the die cut onto the sheet, then when you cut it out, you can just peel it off and it's already there on the word. So in this instance, what I've done is I've taken a piece of basic white, a small piece of basic white. Let me just see if I've got any cut bits. I'll show you the size of the bits I was working with to make it a bit easier to see. So I cut mine up into slightly smaller samples so I could see what I was doing. I peeled off the top of the adhesive sheet and stuck a piece of basic white on it. Then I popped my die on top of the basic white card. So what happens is when you cut it out, it's already got the adhesive sheet stuck to it, so you haven't got to find a way of putting dimensionals or liquid glue with a fine tip glue onto the back of this. And also in this instance it raises it up and gives you that extra dimension. If you can see, it's a bit tricky to me, so I can show it. That is probably the best way to show it. You can see that actually it's got a bit of depth to it. So when you come to put it on the card, it gives it a real lovely 3D effect for how it works. So those are the adhesive sheets, and I think they're a really good investment because actually you can get an awful lot of words out of one piece of sheet. But obviously you can apply it to other things as well, shapes and things like that. So back to my little card base, and as you can see, everything's all now sorted. So I'm just going to very carefully trim down the edges. You could do this with a cutter if you want to, but this morning I'm just going to do it with a pair of scissors. And there you have your card mat in those wonderful pastel colours. So the final bit is the assembly, which as always is fairly straightforward. So what I've done is just pop some dimensionals onto the corners. Those are my dimensionals. Before I shouldn't have taken those off, I will admit I've done this slightly wonky donkey. So I'm just going to, before I stick it onto the card base, just tie, I've just done some white. If I put it on roughly, then I can tie the ribbon in a minute, tie the bow in a minute. Just put that on so it's just round it, and you know you've got enough ends at the ends to sort out actually tying the bow. So let me just pop this into, I can't see the centre, pop that onto the centre of my card and stick that down. There we go. Then I've got my friend, so to speak, my sentiment. And the well-written framelits are really good because they've got all sorts of one thing. Yeah, they've got the normal happy birthday, but they've also got a very appropriate sympathy card if you need one of those. And it's a nice way of making it a very personal touch in that sense. And I love the fact that you can make it 3D and just bring them to life slightly more than you would do otherwise. So I'm just going to pop that in the middle. And hopefully it's all lining up. There we go. Now the trickiest bit of all, I'm sorry to say, in my view, I'm just doing my bow, which I'm just going to do at the side here. And then finally, just to bring it a bit more to life, the well-written framelits also has some little butterflies. It has I think it has a bird as well. So I'm just going to pop a little butterfly on. And always wanting a bit of sparkle, I've got some champagne rhinestones, she says optimistically, as it's stuck to my finger because they're too gluey. there we go, just to bring it a little bit to life. So there we go. A nice card to bring a little bit of sparkle. I'm just going to pull that down a little bit so they're a bit more even. There we go. For a spring card. So just to run through the colours I've used: Purple Posy, Calypso Coral, Flirty Flamingo, I can't remember which pink that is, Sage Saffron, Flirty Flamingo, Pool Party. So for me, they're a really nice variety of spring colours that you could use, and they just add a little extra dimension. And the background is definitely Petal Pink and Poppy Parade for the red card in the middle. So really nice red colours. Okay, thank you.